Good evening, everyone. My name is Amanda Radigan. I'm the Planning and Zoning Director here at the city. Thank you guys for attending this outreach meeting. We are here to talk about the Town Square projects in a couple of phases. I will be brief and then I will hand it over to the design team representing the developer for more details. As you probably know, this project started out as a joint venture between a private developer and the city. This started back in February of 2018 when the first developers agreement were done in March of 18. So that resulted in approval of the City Hall building that we're all in today, as well as the public spaces and parks that we have built around us. After that, there were a series of amendments and site plans submitted that did not come to fruition. So what happened, the probably next biggest milestone would be February of 2023. There was a new partner brought on board, Time Equities, and the city renegotiated and went into a new development agreement. Time Equities is here today fulfilling parts of their development agreement responsibilities, which is to submit site plans for both the north and south parcel. With that, we'll be able to take questions after the presentation, but I'm going to hand it off to Bradley Miller, who's representing Time Equities, to go over the presentation.
I'm going to use this fancy thing because I've never used one of these fancy things before. That's pretty cool.
You're like Tony Robbins.
Yeah, I was thinking of Drew Carey of Adam Temple, come on down. Hi, and thanks for coming out. My name's Bradley Miller. I'm with Urban Design Studio, the land planner for these residential components at Town Square. Robert Singer is with Time Equities somewhere out on I-95. He'll be here in a few minutes. We got Josh Horning, who's with Kimley Horn, who's our engineer, civil engineer, and some traffic engineering. And Ailish Villalobos, who's also with Urban Design Studio and keeps me in line. So this is exciting. Is it all joined together, Amanda? Or is this yours or mine? Or oh, then it goes to me. So there's my welcome slide. So Amanda did go through it, but I'll just give some graphic representation. It's about a 15-acre property here for all of Town Square at Seacrest and Boynton Beach Boulevard. And the phases there that are in green, the bigger rectangle on the right-hand side is where City Hall and the amphitheater has been built. So that was part of the first phase. And then on the north side of Ocean Avenue is the Cultural Center and the Children's Museum, which was also part of that, as well as some parks that go with it. And as Amanda said, these northern parcels and the southern parcel that are, the southern parcel you can see is in pink and the northern is in blue. Those are the parcels that Time Equities ended up negotiating a deal with the prior owner, which was JKM Developers, and then with the city back in February was when we got the approvals for that. As part of one of those approvals, there was a land swap. There was a piece of property on the western corner of Seacrest and Boynton Beach Boulevard that we swapped with the city. So we've got the two residential parcels, the north and the south are pretty close to being the same. And then this fourth phase is actually a parcel that's owned by the city. Right now on the master plan, it's slated for a hotel, but that's up for the city to figure out what to do as this continues. So what we're here for, and Robert Singer did join us. Welcome to sunny Florida. So it was in February of this year. We've been moving along quickly. There's a development agreement that's probably 25 pages long that is our guideline of how this project is going through and keeping it going both for the developer side as well as for the city side. One thing that we have as part of this development agreement is that these site plan applications that I'm going to touch on here tonight are to be processed in 120 days. So we're about a month and a half in, and ultimately we will be at public hearings with the City Commission on March 19th. That's our target date. This is just a summary. The column in red here is showing what's allowed on the property. I'm not going to go through line by line, but each one of them is showing that for the number of units, we're actually proposing fewer than what's allowed. The residential density that's tied to the number of units, again, we're lower than what's allowed. The building area is less, the floor area ratio is less, the height is less, and it continues that way. The parking, which has really been a thorn, especially for the folks that work here in City Hall. They've had to use the temporary parking for some time. So the parking for these city and cultural civic amenities are incorporated into these projects. Parking garages that we have in these two projects have far more parking spaces than what we need, because it's providing parking, about 473 spaces for the city use. So I think all the staff will be very happy once there's a garage there to let them park in. This is the master plan that just outlines those phases again. The light purple and the green are these cultural, the City Hall, Cultural Center, Children's Museum parcels. The darker purple are the north and south parcels that I'm representing, and then the yellow is that fourth phase that the city will own. We're going to start with the south, and the reason that we're starting with the south is that we've targeted that parcel to actually go first out of the two for construction. Reason being, the parking garage can be closer to City Hall. There's already a lease agreement with the property on the north side that's been in place for some time. So rather than juggling that whole mess, starting with the south garage, there's 465 units proposed in this building. It's 8 stories. It's 80 feet high. For the south parcel, we're allowed to have a height of 87 feet, so we're actually below that. We've got commercial space of 6,686 square feet, which when we went through the master plan approval, that was something that the commissioners asked us to actually beef up a little bit, and we have. Actually, we're over the amount of overall commercial square footage than what we originally had. There's 1,015 parking spaces, of which 239 of those are going to be available for city uses. So the plan itself, we'll start with the red corners. The red corners are indicating the retail space, and this is the ground level footprint. The big gray box is the parking garage. That's also part of the 8 stories, but it's wrapped around with the rest of the building. The blue space is all like common amenity space, the lobby, the mail room, the gym. There's co-work space in it. The inside of this for the residents here is going to be extremely exciting. The yellow are residential units that are at the ground level, and then the green boxes are these courtyards within the building that are huge. The one on the right side it's about 2/3 of a football field. That's a little more active space where they have a pool and barbecue areas and fire pits, things like that. The one on the left-hand side is more passive. There is a water feature there, but it's a little quieter atmosphere is the intent. And then as you go up, the residential components will ring the entire building. As you go around it, each floor will have access to the garage from the parking garage directly into the floor. So that gives you the floor plan, and this actually colors it up a little bit more. This is actually a little bit different. This was an older rendering. We haven't gotten to the point of redoing this, but it shows the streetscape of having street trees and pedestrian areas all the way around the building, as well as within the interior courtyards. Access to the parking garage are the darker blue arrows, which is, if we walked out the doors here to City Hall, it would be essentially right across the street would be the parking garage entries there. And there's two of those. And then the yellow arrow is the main lobby space, which is really opposite and across from the amphitheater area. So with the retail space, we thought, that's a nice place you can come to the amphitheater, whatever the show is, and we're thinking coffee shop or ice cream shop or sandwich shop there, so it can tie in with the activities of the amphitheater, and also give the employees of City Hall some space and opportunity to get off campus, if you will. Elevation-wise, I think this is called a Spanish eclectic architecture. I always get lost with that. I just stick with, I think it's gorgeous looking. I think it'll be a nice addition. We did try to pull from the colors and some of the accents of the darker browns and the taupes and the whites from City Hall that really started the trend there. And so this is showing you a typical elevation on the west end of the south building, and then also the north side of the south building. The red lines there at the top, one thing that once we get to the public hearings, we meet the height requirement to the roof line, which is by code, which is the 80 feet to the roof that's indicated there. And for this parcel, we could go up to 87, but we don't need to do that. We have these architectural features, the towers that actually exceed that, and the code allows us to do that. We just have to make that part of our application to request that additional height. And without those, it would take away the aesthetics of the elevation, take away the aesthetics of the skyline as you look at it, and the top of the building would become very boring, just be cut off, essentially. So that's what those red lines are showing there. These give you an idea of how those appear. This is the north side of the building facing the amphitheater. This is the south side. So it wraps all the way around. These are some street views. You can see there's street trees that are faded out a little bit, so that the architects like to do that so they can show their architecture, but it still gives the idea of where the street trees are going to be. And there's some parallel parking spaces along Southeast 2nd Avenue. That's on the south side of the building. This is a corner, the southeast corner of the building looking to the northwest with some accent arcade features at this corner and the other corners as well. For the north parcel, it's a similar situation here. Again, the colors, the red is the commercial space. We've got almost 17,000 square feet there. There's 433 units in this building. There's 1,036 parking spaces, of which 252 are for the city use. This one is actually also 8 stories and 80 feet high. But our height limit that we could go to is 99 feet. We just didn't have to get to that. Our main lobby entrance is off of Boynton Beach Boulevard, where the yellow arrow is. And then we have actually a secondary, I should have added that arrow there too. There's a secondary lobby area at the southern side on the right-hand side. And then again, the garage has access out to Southeast 1st Avenue or Northeast 1st Avenue, which is the backside of the old high school, the cultural center, the Children's Museum across from the park. The red area here is the commercial space. The blue, again, is the amenity space that's part of the project itself. And in this elevation, or this plan, the green areas, there's some you can see across the top, up against Boynton Beach Boulevard. Those are little set-in courts. So the idea would be you can go grab a sandwich at a restaurant in one of the retail spaces, and rather than sitting out on the sidewalk, which there's going to be plenty of room straight out the door, but there's a little more of a protected area that's cut into the space for that activity. Boynton Beach Boulevard is going to be changing its face as we know it. This is not part of our project, but just to let people know that there's a reconstruction of Boynton Beach Boulevard that's going to be, it may have already been let, the contract. So that's going to be going, and this design incorporates that new design that the DOT is doing. Again, the green space in the middles are two courtyards for the activities for the residents, pool area, active area on the right, and more of the passive area on the left-hand side. And this again shows the streetscape, the trees that will be along the streetscape. I think it's going to be, it's been long awaited. I think all of us are probably ready to actually, I noticed here just recently that the blue screens have come down off of the north parcel, which was nice to see. Architecturally, it's really the same style of architecture here. There are some arcade features, which are covered walkway areas, especially along Boynton Beach Boulevard. We've got 80 feet to our roof deck. Again, 99 is allowed. And then to the peak of these towers are 104 to give that architectural character to the building. And again, this is a end view, and the view at the bottom would be if you're standing back away across the street and probably farther from Boynton Beach Boulevard. The renderings give some great feel to how this is. That's the southeast corner of Boynton Beach Boulevard, just running along the left-hand side of the screen, and then Seacrest that goes down the right-hand side of accenting the corner with the arcades. And there's the commercial space will be right at that location, so it'll be active on the street level. It's the northwest corner of the building. It's the southeast corner of the intersection. Trying to trip me up. Again, this gives a street view, and that shows how these courts would be anticipated along Boynton Beach Boulevard, where there can be tables and chairs in there, and you're not right out on the street and the elements along with the cars. I've spent some time in the last couple of years over in St. Petersburg, downtown St. Petersburg, and one of my favorite places over there is just like this. It's on a street, and then there's this courtyard on one side. There's breakfast and lunch at one restaurant, and then on the other side at 5 o'clock, the bar opens up and the restaurant opens up on the other side, and they use that space. It's a great design. This is on First Street. The fire station is just off to the right, and First Street runs behind the Children's Museum and the Cultural Center, giving that corner view and street view. And this is if we're standing in the park that's on the west side of the Cultural Center out by Seacrest, looking at the south side of the buildings. This actually shows some of the architectural treatment that we're actually working on improving it more. There's, if you can faintly see the word parking there, there's going to be actually gating and garage door there for the access to that. The loading zone is one door to the right of that, which is that wider arch space. Those are designed actually where the truck would pull all the way inside under the building. So the idea is to not have trucks out on the street doing the loading and unloading. This is looking east towards the ocean. Again, the west side of the building on Seacrest Boulevard, and you can see some of the arcade features. Some of them go up to the second floor, some of them go up to the third floor, just for the architectural accent. And then this slide gives a bunch of the technical information of how the master plan is changing from the original approvals. We got into final design. We ended up with some fewer units in the north and more units in the south, but we're still at 898 units overall. And then similar situation with the parking, where there's more in the north, less in the south. And then parking-wise, we've balanced that out as well between the two parcels. So our applications that will be presented will be a modification, or it'll be site plan modifications for the north parcel and for the south parcel. And for both parcels, we'll be asking for that height exception for those towers features to exceed the 80 feet, which is it's a strange part of the code. It basically says, yes, you can do it, but you've got to go get the commission to say, we like it too. So we'll be going through that. And then there's components, there's the frontages of the garage space. When you have a parking garage, by code, they ideally, they want it wrapped all the way around. So it's fully enclosed by habitable space. Ours on the sides where it actually has access to the street and the driveways, the frontage is there, but you can actually get back here. In that, the left-hand side is actually the garage space, so it's all blended in architecturally. So that's something that we're going to be asking for, that be allowed to not have this habitable space wrap all the way around. There's a technical part of it too that we're concerned with. Garage space, they have to breathe. We're all have used them. You go in there, if they're fully encompassed, it can be done, but you've got the fumes from the cars themselves that breathe a little better when they've got a wall and the space to be able to get that out. And then we do have one variant for, now I'm drawing a blank. That's why Eilish is here. Thank you. The step back for the garages as well. As the buildings go up, code wants the building to move in a little bit, 10 feet. And in these areas of the garages, because of all the additional parking that we're providing for the city use and the design of the garages, that facade goes straight up, and it doesn't have this 10-foot inset that we've applied to the rest of the building. We actually applied it at the ground level, so it's pushed back 10 feet farther than where we could to a build-to line, as they call it. It gives more street appeal from our standpoint, and from a design factor, it's much easier to work with, where you can line units straight up and down in each floor, and be able to handle all the utilities is big for having that design. So those are the applications. We've received our first round of comments from city staff. They weren't overly brutal on us. We worked really, really hard before We made a formal submittal. They've been great to work with as we've come up with the designs and moved things around. These are complicated projects, complicated designs. And so we're working through those comments now, and we'll be resubmitting back to the staff to address those comments. There might be one more round of that. Hopefully not. We'll see how well we do. But then the goal is to get to the March 19th City Commission meeting where this will be addressed by the City Commission and voted on at that meeting. So with that, I guess, is it a Q&A time? I feel honored. This is the first of one of these meetings that the City of Boynton has done, but you can't pick a better project to do it for.
Yeah, I think it would be appropriate now if there are any questions, I can hand off the mic or any comments in general.
Hey, Brad, on the, can we go back to the last slide that had the site plan on there?
The master plan?
Yes, because I know when we sat down, Rob, we had discussed moving, so if you go, I'm confused because I see the retail and commercial in two different areas. I saw it facing First Ave at some point on the northern parcel. This is for the northern parcel, I'm sorry.
Okay.
And one of my concerns was having all of that commercial loaded up on Boynton Beach Boulevard. You know, when we talk about Town Square and the project as a whole, we wanted to create walkability and inviting downtown. And, you know, Boynton Beach Boulevard, I believe, is a hurricane evacuation route. And so, you know, we have to be mindful of that with this project that's coming up. And to instill walkability, if we look at First Ave, and then you have Ocean Ave, you know, that's where the downtown is going to be. That's where a lot of these projects are coming up. And so, Rob, when we spoke, in this modification, is that commercial moving?
You might need a mic. Well, you're getting the mic. Yeah, Vice Mayor, thank you for the comment.
Yeah, Vice Mayor.
And we did shift that.
So, yeah, the Vice Mayor is not crazy. We did talk about that. When we submitted that in our pre-app, we had the commercial space down where you remember it. The city code actually now dictates that we need to have 70% retail frontage on Seacrest and Boynton Beach. So what happened was we don't have really, we didn't want to ask for a variance because that's what the code says. So we had to take that, and by the way, I mean, that's really the long and the short of it. City code is telling us that we have to put the retail on Seacrest and on Boynton, and that's why we had to make the change.
I can clarify a little bit. Yeah, I can clarify a little bit. So Rob is correct. The code does require 70% frontage on Boynton Beach. And in looking at the aerial, the position, we thought it would be most appropriate to get some of that commercial space on First, which is not required per code, because if we get it on First, it would create synergy between our public space. Do you have an aerial, Brad, that you can pull up? Because that area would then face the green, the amphitheater, and we thought it would be good to get some commercial space, retail space within the public spaces versus on Northeast First. We're really looking at the back of the schoolhouse, probably back of house for the hotel or that use too, because those uses are expected to front Ocean. So I really think the way this is going to work out is Northeast First Avenue will become more for utility, for access, and then we are fronting the buildings onto Ocean, as it started with City Hall and the schoolhouse and the cultural center. And then we're going to create synergy again on the other side of City Hall, which is southeast first, between City Hall, the green, and commercial facing the green.
Did that answer? Kind of, sort of?
I think we'll talk offline.
Okay.
You know, yeah. No, you guys are just following code. I get.
We're literally following code, and we all, and over only a certain amount of retail that these have, there's only, we already have a liquid 25,000 between these buildings, which is a lot. And ran out of space, like we hit a maximum retail amount that code optimized thing. I can't put, putting more and more and more isn't gonna help this. And
No, I'm grateful that you guys added more. You know, I was happy that you guys did that. I just.
wanted to, and now that area next to the hotel really is gonna start functioning more like, that's where the trash comes. That's gonna be a lot of, Okay, I see.
You could get a fancy one like this.
Yeah, but anyway, we're happy to like talk about it a little bit. The other good thing is though, I mean, we looked at this with some of our retail partners and they do agree that Seacrest, the retail is to function and Seacrest is gonna be a place where it's gonna function better. And to give you a little more comfort, if we could go back to the arcade design, the rendering of it, because one of your comments, Vice Mayor, is it's a lot of traffic and it's an evacuation zone. What we've done here to make this stuff more palatable, go back to the one before, the zoom in.
I don't know if I can zoom in.
No. Go one more, where you can see like underneath the arcade, underneath the, there. So what we've done here is created like 4 of these. And what this does, we think this is like brilliant. I mean, we invented it, so no, we're copying other people. But basically what this does is it sort of helps people get off the street and creates an inviting environment while keeping it on Boynton Beach. So it puts the retail where the retail market wants it to be and lets the customers have some privacy and feel secure. And we think this is sort of now like optimized per code and per what the retail market wants to rent, and we think it works for the customers. So this is all brand new thinking that we think sort of helps solve the whole thing. But we're not fighting, we're just trying to follow the code and make it best it can be given the constraints. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, that makes sense. The other thing, Bradley brought up the Boynton Beach streetscape. And I think that's gonna give us wider sidewalks there. Is that gonna impede on this project at all?
No.
As far as what you guys are required
No,
to
what
do?
you're seeing here is what we, this is including the new
There's about
streetscape.
20 feet of pedestrian space along those roadways.
The Boynton Beach streetscape?
But it's big. I mean, it's right. You mean like between the buffer and the actual sidewalk, but like the total dimension is about the same. But yeah, from the curb all the way to the building, we're talking about 20 feet.
Yeah, more, I think.
I think it's 22 feet. It's going to feel really substantial. And what's happening here with these arcades is that it's making it active, which is meeting the code in a kind of a beautiful way, a thoughtful way with a lot of detail. And again, we put a lot into this, and we feel like it's pretty much optimized relative to the constraints that we have in the code.
Last thing on the commercial portion. So I saw the parking garage on the northern parcel is gonna be facing First Ave. If I'm visiting, right, I park in the parking garage, am I going to have access through the interior to get to that commercial space? Or am I walking down to First Ave, around Seacrest, or up, up on the other street, past the fire station, and then coming up on Boynton Beach
No,
Boulevard?
we got you.
So I'm going to do it by
Yeah.
a tall arm.
Yeah, don't ask me to do it. I guess we're.
Right in here, actually, let me go one more. There's a court right at the north corner there. And so that corner of the garage is going to be, there's going to be glass there so you can see through and see that space along with signage. So that's really the connection there. There's another one at the northeast corner.
But let me try it one more time.
You're
So
taller than me.
Yeah, you drive in, you park, you do not have to walk around the building.
Okay,
Right.
What we're saying is that there's gonna be a big glass, 14, 15-foot high thing that says, exit to Boynton Beach Boulevard.
got it.
And you'll walk into where it says court, and actually, so when you get into that space, and it's 14 and a half feet tall, it's super tall, there's a door, there's retail space just on the left, so like you'll walk in, and then there'll be a store here, and you'll be in one of these courtyards. So that's the beauty of the design, is that we get you through in an elegant way out to Boynton Beach.
Perfect. Thanks for.
And it'll be signage, and it'll be glass, and there'll be no doubt that when you get through, park, that's where you're going.
Got it. Awesome. Thank you, Rob.
Okay, I have a question about the Palm Tran bus stop, which is a very busy bus stop right along there on that corner. Before, in one of your pictures, you had a little pullout with a blue car in it. Is that going to be the Palm Tran, have a pullout there for the bus so that traffic won't be impeded?
Yeah, the quick answer is no. Palm Tran, I've been working in the county here for about 30 plus years. And Palm Tran, through time, they originally liked having those pull-off areas, but they found it more difficult and more dangerous to pull back out from those than to stop traffic for the couple of minute or two that they're loading and unloading. So what those pull-offs are for are more so for for fire and EMS. As well as the Uber driver, and then the quick delivery of the Amazon truck, that type of access. That's what those pull-offs are for. The Palm Tran, we can't change that, so that stays there. But I think in the redesign and the reconstruction, maybe Amanda or Tim can touch on that more if there's. I don't know of any other improvements for that bus stop, but I'm sure it's not going away.
Hi, how are you? Tia Bowden, we own a couple buildings just east of you on First, and we're wondering about the garbage. So like One Ocean, down on Ocean and Federal, the garbage situation on 4th Street is an absolute disaster. So I'm wondering what's your plan for that, to keep it off the street, the smells, the collection, the trucks?
Sure.
How's that gonna work?
So on both sides of the parking garage, there's trash rooms that will be collected there. There's gonna be a valet service that, well, there's two things. For the residential units, there's gonna be a drop. So on each floor, there's a place you take your garbage, you stick it in a hole, shoots down, it gets collected, and then management takes it to the trash room. And then the other part of it is the commercial space will be the same thing. There'll be a valet to pick that up, get it to the trash room. And then the trash itself is actually within the building in those doored off areas.
Thanks. We spent a lot of time on the trash. So trash and loading all happen internal in the building. So you can see here that the way this is designed is that the trash truck will actually, it can either pull in straight and it can lift and dump the trash. So it's like it's an air conditioned trash room that's internal in the building. And the design, we're working with this with the vendors, is that it either backs in or pulls in. But they're coming down the street anyway. They pull in, they dump the trash, they pull out, and they keep going. So it's all internal. It's all internal. And the same thing with the loading. I mean, a lot of the issue here with these, I mean, it's just a lot of units, people moving in and out. You don't want moving trucks all over your streets. And so the rules are, if you want to live here, you can't just pull over and have box trucks all over the place. We've designed, I call it the Bat Cave, where you pull in, loading 1, 2. There's a bulk holding room. It's a good thing I'm tall.
It is.
Bulk holding room. There is a service elevator. All of this happens internally. So we spend a lot of time on these logistics. We want people. We do not want trash. We do not on the streets. It won't be. We don't want people pulling up for move-ins. So we have our back cave for logistics.
Just to back up a second, for some people may not have been involved in the early on function of this. Time Equities has 40 million square feet of space, a lot of it in New York, Chicago, Detroit, out of the country. So they've done this a time or two.
We live directly across the street from City Hall in a house on Seacrest. And we've lived here for 8 years, and there are a lot of accidents on Seacrest. And one of the things we noticed when City Hall got built, because the streets are so close together that are going east-west, and people are pulling in and pulling out, what happens is when people are trying to cross the street, like just walk across the street, it looks clear, and the moment you start, someone pulls out right there, right where you're walking across the street, because that's how close all the streets are to each other. So my question is, I actually have done a little work with the city to get them to monitor things and look at accident reports and stuff. I'm wondering if there's going to be some, if you're going to look at the traffic patterns that this is going to bring, just for safety.
One thing that we have done is, Stephanie Guerrera is here as our traffic engineer, but I'm going to touch on this while it's up there. You can see at the very bottom here, this is Northeast First Avenue. Can't interrupt the vice mayor. But it's her question. So one thing through the design of this is, so this is Northeast First Avenue. This is behind the Cultural Center. And we're actually going to be installing what's called in fancy traffic terms, a pork chop. That will, because the traffic backs up there at Seacrest, you don't need to tell you that. And of course, there's going to be more traffic with the project. And so it will function as a right in, right out movement there, and actually force people to, if you want to get out to Seacrest and go up and get out to I-95, you have to go farther south first where it's safer to make those turning movements.
And to Bradley's point, we did look at the crashes specifically at that intersection because that had been deemed a high crash location. And specifically when you're looking at right angle and left turn crashes, those tend to be the most dangerous. So that was one of the considerations that we were looking at there. And then I believe we were looking at lengthening the northbound left turn lane to the extent possible for that intersection to also help with,
Right,
with the
Seacrest,
progression
yeah.
there.
I should just say overall, we've studied the traffic, I mean, do you want to give just 30-second on capacity around traffic?
Sure. For a little bit more of a bird's eye view of what we looked at all of the intersections ranging from Seacrest and Boynton Beach Boulevard to First Street and basically Southeast First and Southeast First, in addition to the project driveways. We analyzed a 2030 build-out to try and include not just the north and south parcels of the Town Square project, but also the future central parcel on Ocean. Included background growth associated with other future developments and just population growth in general. And we were able to identify a number of small improvements that could be made, primarily turn lane additions and turn lane lengthening. I believe there's a signal monitoring condition at First and Boynton Beach Boulevard that we identified that we'll be looking at to, in case that's warranted in the future. There is a bit of a lengthy warrant process in order to get things approved for a signal on FDOT right-of-way, and that's governed by 8-hour traffic volumes rather than just peak hour. But that's something that we would be monitoring throughout the phases of the project to see if that's needed at that time. No. The conclusions are that generally with the improvements that we've proposed, that things are going to operate acceptably.
Are there any other questions from the public?
Hi, Mike.
Hi. Hey, Bradley. First of all, I'm probably never going to be in favor of this because when I was 8 or 9, I remembered with my grandfather hand painting with brushes, right over there, the Boy Scout hut floor. And then my baseball field for minor league was right there. So it is what it is. But what I'm mainly, one of my concerns is today, the world is experiencing an existential threat from global warming. So it is the moral imperative of every government entity to do what it can to slow the spewing of CO2 into the atmosphere. In this case, every new building needs to be solar panel ready. If solar panels are not to be put on a building immediately, the building needs to be designed to allow for an easy retrofit. This means such things as hurricane tie-down points on the roofs and electrical conduit channels to electrical rooms, which are large enough for inverters and batteries. Plus, the floors where the batteries go will need to be strengthened to support their dense weight. Another point is, after FPNL loses some of its monopoly, conduits between buildings for microgrids. And of course, special emphasis on parking garages. 50% of all new cars sold in 7 years are projected to be plug-in. In 12 years, 100%. Every parking space in a new parking garage needs to be charger ready. Parking garages are typically built with precast concrete segments. They are highly engineered, and engineers and insurance companies will frown on retro drilling double T-beams to accommodate car chargers. So the holes between parking levels and the thickened wall area to mount car chargers need to be planned for when the concrete segments are cast. And of course, today on parking garages, the top floors are undesirable parking spaces because of all the wasted heat from sunlight, which means that this is the perfect place for 100% of bifacial solar panels. So, we're living in a new world. This is basically 1980s technology. We need to step up and plan for the future.
Thanks for the comments. I don't think this is 1980 technology. It's actually 2024 technology going into it. Has it been designed with solar panels on the top? No. But there's a lot of design factors into this that actually code requires and we have to meet for sustainable development. So I think appreciate the comments and I think there's a lot there. The electric car chargers have been incorporated into the building and will be available as that increases. So there's I don't know the exact number off the top of my head. You know the lifespan of the building, Rob?
No, but I appreciate the conduit. Chargers. Good idea. We're gonna start off with a certain amount.
Need to hit the button, I think, that, oh,
Yeah.
there it is.
So I appreciate the comment. We'll certainly take it. You know, the solar panels are more, you know, at this point in time, slightly more complicated. You can't run the building today on solar panels. But we certainly understand the point, and technology is going to improve. And I do think we have parking that we're planning for the top of the garage, and there's condensers and a million things going on up there. But look, we are as concerned as everybody about global warming, and you know, we're going to make this as efficient a building as can be, you know, as we can build.
Was there a follow-up, Mike?
Yeah, a related issue is resilience to hurricanes, and that's one of where the batteries come in. I mean, they're good for smoothing out solar energy, but also, I mean, we've all been here in South Florida where FP&L doesn't get around for 5 days after, for some parts of the grid after a hurricane, and there's going to be more of them. So is there any resilience here? And that's another reason to have batteries is obviously you won't be able to run AC for everything, but there could be some emergency circuits for common areas and stuff like that. Is there any plans for, you know, batteries going to be a big technology. It's going to be, you know, resilience to hurricane events. Is there any plans for any of that kind of resiliency?
You know, in other projects we've done, you know, we don't run it on, we have these generators that are run on, frankly, they're run on, you know, natural gas at this point. You know, we haven't run generators for a building of this size on batteries. I don't know if that's possible today, but I 100% hear you, and this is something that we've done on other projects where we you know, you have to plan for FPL not being able to provide service for certain amounts of time. It's a serious thing, and again, I appreciate that comment.
Harry?
Yeah, just a quick question, and thanks for running us through the project. Could you refresh us with the timeline on this thing a little bit? You mentioned the March 19th thing. There were agreements, I know, over different years. Could you just kind of take us real quick through the timeline on this to where it breaks ground and where the city starts seeing some revenue? Because as the expenses exceed the current revenue streams, the money from this will be kind of nice. I'm just kind of wondering what the timeline looks like.
Sure, we need to get through this process to move into the next one, which would be construction documents and permitting. So using that March 19th date at the city commission level, the next step would be to then finalize construction documents. That's probably need another 6 months, 8 months.
Yeah,
for
I mean,
that.
and Harry, we talked about this. Look, right now, there's two things going on. You know, we have 6 or 9 months of not finishing construction documents, starting them. You know, that's a long process, it's an expensive process, and it's one that we're committed to pursuing, and we're going to do that as soon as, you know, Amanda and the team tell us that we have our site plans. Then there's a permitting process, which is a process. If we're lucky, when we get done with all of that, you know, the financial markets and the rental markets and, you know, everyone under the sun will stand up and will be in a position to move forward. Right now, we're literally delivering a 1 million-foot skyscraper in Chicago. We're delivering a big multifamily project in Panama City Beach. We're entitling and delivering all over the place. So my personal hope is that, you know, we're in a position in the first or second quarter of 25 to really break ground. But
you know, that's on the first building. And these buildings are gonna take, you know, it's gonna take 2.5, 3 years to get a building like this built, leased, stabilized. And then you can start to move into the next one. So it's gonna, none of this happens, you know, overnight. But we are committed to doing everything we can do under the sun to move this forward. It doesn't help us, unlike some developers who kind of are okay holding land. That's not our business. We have to build. Holding the land doesn't really help us. If we have to hold the land because there's an international pandemic or financial markets are frozen, we will, and we have. But trying to give you a date where you can plug in how much revenue you're going to get from this particular project.
I'm just looking for a rough order.
My hope, you know, my hope is that we start in, you know, the second quarter of 25, and this thing is online by the second quarter of 28, one of them. And
That's all.
yeah, I mean that's the best we can say at this point. But I hope, and that's just being honest, and I hope that people can understand that.
I'm just trying to figure out. It's 10 million a year right now on bond money of income.
Yeah, this is actually, you won't see much of this in the city's coffers, because this is in the CRA.
Yeah, I mean, and I think the bigger point, the other point that I just want to make to this group here is that I'll stand up here. We didn't invent this master plan. We didn't invent the zoning. We didn't invent anything. Nothing. We came here. There was an owner. Things were a mess. Things were, you know, in litigation. And we said to the city, we said, look, you know, if you think we're a good fit, possibly for helping unwind this and deliver the vision that's been set up, not that we created the vision, but deliver on your own vision, then we're happy to, you know, step in here and try to make this work. If not, then we'll go away. We have other things to do. So I want everyone to keep that in perspective here, that we believe in Boynton. We are huge believers in Boynton. We made a major investment. This will be the biggest investments, you know, in Boynton in a long time, if not ever. Love this community. We want to help you realize your vision in a way that's economic. And you know, I just wanted to actually, while I'm thinking about it, step back and make that point again, because it's, you know, it's important to keep it in perspective. We're here to try to help solve a problem and help the city deliver on their vision for how this should go.
Anyone else have any questions? Okay, with that, I just want to thank Bradley and Rob for coming to do this presentation. I do have some business cards if anyone does want to take one. If you guys have any questions in the future, feel free to reach out to me. And if not, if you are within the 400 feet radius, you will be getting probably another mail out when this does go to City Commission. Keep track of the agendas for City Commission. We are March 19th, tentatively, to see this in front of City Commission. If not, thank you again for spending an hour with us, and everyone have a good night.
Thank you, everyone.